Welcome, everyone. I'm John Wuorinen. I'm the Director of Admissions and Tuition Assistance here at Columbus Academy. Welcome to another Zoom at Noon. Today, we're talking about upper school life, life here in the upper school at Columbus Academy. Although one of our panelists is running a little bit late in a meeting, he'll be here soon, I'm sure. In the meantime, let me introduce Amy Seymour and Jen Conti, who are key people in the upper school in terms of activity. The interesting thing is we're going to have three panelists join me today. Matt Thompson is the Dean of Students and can talk a little bit about the overview. But the interesting thing is there actually could be about 20 different faculty members here, or maybe 30, who are involved in the life of the upper school outside just the academic classroom. So thank you to the two of you for joining today. Maybe what I'll do is just have each of you introduce yourselves and talk just a little bit about some key pieces. Amy, why don't you start and talk about junior speeches?
Sure. So my name is Amy Seymour. I teach in the middle school, and I took over for junior speeches this year after Beth Wagner did it for the past 3 years, and prior to that, Bob Kirk had run junior speeches. So it was really exciting for me to take over junior speeches because I lost an entire quarter with the current juniors when I had them in 8th grade because of COVID. So I kind of felt like I got
Isn't that fun?
and junior speeches usually runs each group. It takes them about 5 weeks to go through the process. So I kind of felt like
What are junior speeches?
So, yeah, so
There's a softball question for you.
It's actually a graduation requirement at our school that every junior must present a speech, and they can choose their topic. I mean, there are some parameters to the topics, but generally it's pretty open-ended. And it usually is approximately 6 minutes long, plus or minus. And they deliver to the entire upper school. And so they work not only on the writing process, so they do writing, editing, revision, but then we also kind of transition about 2 weeks into really working on how they deliver their speeches. And they're up on stage, they're to over 400 people. So it's one of those things where there are so many benefits to doing it. It's also very stressful for the kids, but I really try to alleviate a lot of that stress. I try to make it as fun as possible. I think one of the coolest traditions about the junior speech is it goes way back in our history. It started out as they started out as these things called chapel speeches. People read, even though we are non-denominational, parts of the Bible, and then it started to become. They would share some research they were doing. I mean, Mr. Wuorinen here actually gave a junior speech. I think he did on birds. Is that right?
No, I would. No? I wish. No, Billy Carter.
Oh.
But back then, what you did was you kind of studied, at least in my era, you studied a topic. You kind of became the expert on the topic, and then you were presenting to the upper school. And so mine. Billy Carter, the brother of Jimmy, they've changed quite a bit. There are still some of those sorts of speeches, but
yeah, I think that they definitely tend to be a lot more personal now, and kids definitely want to share things that their peers might not know about them or about their families. But there are definitely aspects of research that are involved as well, and I really try to get kids to think about things on a sort of broader perspective. I think the other thing that's really cool about junior speeches is when the kids finish their speeches, we call it a hug line. It's more like a reception line, but they come out of the speakers come out of the theater, and then all of the faculty and their classmates come through and like shake their hands or hug them. And I always have my juniors tell me how nice it was, how much positive feedback they got from their peers, from the faculty, and how good they felt about themselves. And so this thing, public speaking tends to be one of people's, their biggest fears. And so we put our juniors through this process, but we really try to do it like incrementally. We try not to make it, filled with pressure. And in the end, the kids have this great celebratory time with their peers and their teachers, and then they go out to lunch with their parents and celebrate. And so they get this positive feedback about sharing something with the entire community. So it's a really great process. We really work the kids slowly through it. And I think it's been just going really well, and it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun, and it's really great to work individually with these juniors, especially for me, seeing them from 8th grade to junior year, and how much they've matured, how much their writing has improved, and how much more confident they are. It's been just really cool.
Well, one of the interesting things I think is how receptive the audience is. As I'm giving tours routinely, one of the things that people think about junior speeches is that the junior speech is really good preparation for life and for speaking in public and all that. And that is obviously the tangible kind of stated goal. The piece of it that ends up being intangible for our community ends up being equally as powerful, I think. You're hearing a worldview from 420, if you assuming that you're here for 4 years in the high school, you'll give one speech, but you'll hear 420 speeches from the other kids. And the topics are, soup to nuts, but they're always interesting. The kids have spent lots of time and energy, honing their craft, and they really want to share a little bit of themselves with the audience, and the audience is receptive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an incredible kind of give and take. And so the other piece that I would say is, speaking as a parent, the adults in this community, we preach a lot to the kids about what we want, good behavior and, taking care of each other and all that sort of stuff. The messages that these junior speeches portray are routinely ones of, overcoming challenges, acceptance, stories about family and how important, relationships are. And so one of the intangible results of this long-standing graduation requirement is actually a really tight-knit community, I think.
Yeah, and I always say the juniors get a little nervous right beforehand. And I always say you have an empathetic audience, right? You either have kids who still have to give their junior speech, so they're still nervous about it, or kids who have already done it, and so they've been through the experience. So everybody is really rooting for them. And I would also say, being in this position, I'm really lucky because I think, our school does a really great job of giving kids public speaking opportunities in classes, in their clubs and other activities. So I think kids come in with some confidence in that area anyway. And then, we're really thorough with how we teach writing. And so I think the kids kind of have an understanding of how to develop a speech and how to work on that as well. So, I think it's kind of like inheriting LeBron James, Michael Jordan, like on a basketball team. You're inheriting these kids that already have such a strong foundation in writing and speaking. And that's because of what the upper school does. And and even in the lower school, I mean, you go way back to like the
3-year-old, third grade,
the wax museum, right? You go all the way back to right down there. And we're constantly giving kids the opportunity to speak publicly, to write and express themselves. And so I think by the time they're juniors, there's a level of confidence that they have that it's really fun to work with them.
It's just an amazing tradition that the school has. As you know, Amy, when we have visitors to the high school, the students coming for their shadow day, we try to load them up on Thursdays so that they can experience the junior speech. And these kids come back and, they're wide-eyed, these visitors, they can't believe what a great experience it is. They're still nervous. You can't watch one as a potential student without thinking, oh, I'm gonna have to be up there doing it, right? But at the same time, the way that the whole thing comes across is it's a really incredible part of the student life here at Academy. May seem odd to those out there that we're talking about this one experience, but it's a weekly experience, and everyone talks about these speeches with you.
It's every Thursday, and my 2 kids are currently in the upper school. One is a senior, so she's given her speech. The other is a sophomore, so he's contemplating what his speech topic will be. But they come home every Thursday and we sit down at the dinner table and they talk about the speeches, and they talk about which ones really resonated with them, and what was really cool about it, or if they saw a kid you know, seemed nervous, but then kind of got more confident. They noticed that and they were like, that was really cool. And they noticed the speakers on stage sit next to each other and they said, yeah, I noticed they were high-fiving each other after their speeches, you know. So that we talk about it almost every Thursday night at dinner. And they say that when they go back to their classes after the junior speeches, the first like 5 minutes are pretty much like everyone's talking about the speeches and really excited about it. So I just think it's a great way to bring the community together every week. The whole upper school comes down, they're there. It's just a really fun environment.
Yeah.
Well, and another piece about the community side of things, since we've had such a long tradition of the junior speeches, it is a great conversation starter for alums, no matter what the age.
Yeah.
And with our current students, you being around alums, and John, you would know, and students, you know, is what was your speech about, or what's it going to be about, or things like that. And people, our older alums, remember their speeches and remember that some could even still recite it. So it's been such a big part of their experience, and then our CA experience as a whole too.
Yeah. One last thing that I'll mention about it is just as you're bringing up the old days. It used to be the case that you were allowed one index card, and you had to memorize the whole thing. And I find it interesting because education evolves over time, obviously. And I mean, the idea of memorizing a speech actually, that's not really, I don't think, what you want to do. So the kids have the speech there, but they're, reading their notes, or actually many of them have them on their iPads now.
Yep.
But the idea of memorizing, it's a little bit like memorizing all the facts. When you have your mobile phone right there, you don't have to memorize nearly as much in 2023 as you did in 1980.
And I would say that the students, because we work for about 5 weeks leading up to their speeches, and they're in groups of 3 or 4, and they hear each other's speeches like two to 3 times a week as we're going through the process. We always laugh at the end that each student in each group could give each other speeches. They know them so well.
Sure.
So by the time you give your speech, most of the kids know them fairly well. They still have their iPads just as a reference, but I mean, you see a lot of kids up there, they don't really look down at all. They just know their speeches, we practice it so much. So I just think it could seem really daunting, but it ends up most students afterwards to say, it made me nervous to see over 400 people in the audience. And then I just got going, and it was like, I just knew it. And then they were like, and then it was done, and then they can't believe that the whole process is over, and it went by that fast. But I think, I keep hearing from the kids that it just wasn't that stressful of a process as they anticipated it being. And I've even had kids say it was really fun. And that's my goal, is I want to make it fun. I want to make this big experience fun for them, so that when they walk away from it, they felt really good about it.
Just one last follow-up. What do they do in terms of a reaction afterward?
They do. So they have to, that's their final assignment is, so they do an exercise in the summer where they come up with topic ideas and we discuss them and sort of try to nail down a topic for each student. Then they do the drafting process, they get a grade on that. And then they have a final reflection where they're giving themselves, they're critiquing themselves throughout the process, the writing process, the revision process, and their delivery. And then I ask them for feedback, like, what do you think I can do to make it better for the next group? And I always want them, sometimes one group wanted me to have lower schoolers come and listen to them. And I was like, that would be awesome. But could you imagine, the little kindergartners in there. But they give me lots of really helpful suggestions. And so I keep trying to incorporate their suggestions to keep making the process better for each group.
Great, well, thanks. And Jen, I got an email. I have sophomore advisees this year. Jen Conti is the director of internships and
College counseling, testing, and data.
I knew that. But I got an email from you reminding my sophomore advisees to be applying for internships and stuff. So why don't you talk a little bit about it? One of the great pieces, and again, this is actually, it's been 4 or 5 years.
We're starting our 5th summer.
5th summer. See, I was right there, 4 or 5. And we have lots of kids getting out there. So tell us a little bit about the internship program, if you would.
Sure. So the internship program, as I said, we're starting our 5th summer, so it's still young. We're still in the infant stages, but it is open to all upper school students. So that is current 9th graders up to our graduating seniors as well. And so then I work in the fall with organizations and community members to host an intern. And then in the spring, it turns to the hiring process. So the students learn about what positions are open. They have to submit a application with a resume for each position that they're interested in. And then the employers decide who they'd like to interview. And we have a whole interview process, with a virtual, in person now, maybe some over the phone. And then we have an offer day where the students receive a contract, an offer and a contract for an internship. So I help facilitate the process and hopefully provide some real world experience for the kids, but also in more of a, I say, in a loving, hugging kind of way. You know, they're not out competing against all the other high school students in the area for positions. You know, these are folks who've said they want to go through our program and provide an opportunity for our students in this way. But they are still going through an application and interview process, and the resume writing is huge. We have a lot of help with that, and I can help. I get different resources for the students, and so we can go through the drafting process as well and help them with that. So some good real world experience.
So can you give us some examples of the positions and how long they are, some of the parameters?
Sure. So I say the heart of the program is the summer. So when I'm out and recruiting organizations for mostly the summer, that's when most of our kids are available. But I do work with organizations if they've got something else during the school year. And so we do have those opportunities. But for this summertime, we offer, so this year, this summer is now offering 41 different positions.
Wow.
From some nonprofit organizations, some for-profit, some more, a lot of businessy and nonprofit, and so a lot of marketing focus. A lot of organizations want to take advantage of young people who know social media. And so we have a lot of physicians with that, but then we also have some more data and data analysis, some health and wellness. We have some fitness studios. Healthy New Albany has a few positions. A lot of our partners actually have a connection to the school, whether it be a school parent or an alum. So we have alumni who come back and to help and get connected in this way as well too. So 41 positions this year so far. We've had as many as 59. That was after the COVID year, the first summer we've opened up. So I think everybody was excited to get out that year. And so, you know, while the positions, well, all the upper school students are able to participate, sometimes the positions specify an age.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
depending on your age, you
Sure.
may be eligible for some things and not other things in that too. So we're currently in the application phase. So the students are anxiously filling out their applications and writing their resumes, and everything is due this week. So we are in the middle of that process right now.
That's terrific. Are some paid, or are there? Tell me about
Yes,
that.
yes,
Tell us
some
about
are
that.
paid and some are unpaid. That is something that I leave up to the hosting organizations. And so you'll see the ones that are paid, sometimes it's an hourly wage, or sometimes more of a stipend at the end of the summer. I talked to the organizations about providing an opportunity that's about 10 to 15 hours per week for about 6 to 10 weeks of the summer. So I always get kids who say, can I still go on vacation? And yes, you probably still can go on vacation. For the unpaid positions, we have a granting process through my office. So the students who end up in an unpaid position are eligible to apply for a small grant. The thought behind that was we didn't want somebody who needed to earn some income over the summer, turned out a really great unpaid opportunity. And so that just helped provide a little bit, but it also too, our students have said to me that they feel that with the hours and the days and the expectations for this position, most of the time they can include maybe an hourly position in addition to that as well too. So we haven't had too many financial issues, but we do have some students who are very appreciative of the grants that we are able to offer.
Sure, different the gas cost.
Exactly. Yes.
And all that sort of stuff. Well, that's super. Now there's also some science things.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the CAPS program?
That's right. So our CAPS is our Columbus Academy Applied Science Program, and it is our efforts, our partnership with the College of Engineering at Ohio State with their outreach office. And they give us the opportunity to talk to and connect with their labs that are open to hosting high school students. And I coordinate, once we have gone through our application process and we have our students who've been admitted to our program, I work to place them into a lab. Some engineering, some medical, some chemistry related too. So students who definitely have an interest in engineering, science, medicine, this is one of our better avenues to get them into labs.
Terrific, terrific. And then I was asking Amy what the follow-up looked like. How about the follow-up after, for the fall?
Sure.
After someone's done the internship?
Yes.
What does that look like after the summer's over?
Right. So for the CAPS program, we actually a couple of years ago started a poster presentation process, which has been really cool. So our science department chair, who I work with for this program, wanted the students to have experience with creating a science poster and presenting that information. So we go through a writing process, a design process with that. We get big posters printed out on foam core, and then during a lunch period, we have them set up around the dining hall so that their peers and faculty can come around and talk to them about what research the lab that they participated in does, and then what also they did, the part that they play, because the labs are your big picture and ongoing lengthy research, and they might have played a small part in it, but they need to be able to communicate what the lab does and then what they did as well too.
Yeah, it's been terrific.
Yeah.
Going and seeing these kids and what they're doing.
Yeah.
The research they do is incredible.
Yes.
I mean, the recent presentations kids gave were exceptional. I mean, far over my head.
They get an opportunity to do some really neat things. Yeah.
It's been terrific. Well, and it's exciting to watch this program evolve over time, the internships, and it's been really terrific. So, well, Matt, glad you could join us. I know you've been busy making some tough announcements at Assembly too.
Yes,
The
the students are going to love me at the moment.
Exactly. So for those of you out there, Matt Thompson's our Dean of Students. And today in Assembly, in Upper School Assembly, he had to do a little finger wagging and saying, guys, do a little better on the dress code and get the materials back to the library and stuff. So Deputy Dog.
Yes.
In any case, Matt, you're here now, and we're happy to have you. I wanted you to talk a little bit about the student life here at the school in terms of some of the clubs that the kids can be in, the affinity groups, perhaps. I mean, again, it's a wide range of opportunities, and wanted you to speak
Yes.
to that a little bit.
So honestly, I think what one of the things that Columbus Academy does so well is it gives kids an opportunity to pursue things that they're interested in, right? And it can be everything from arts to music to clubs. And also it gives kids an opportunity to do things that they may not have known that they loved, because there's other kids who have interests that they jump on board with. We have a huge club fair each fall where students are starting their own clubs under the guidance of a faculty member. And it ranges everything from cooking to chess to what they called, I can't even remember, it was a soccer related club, but it was all about leading up to the World Cup. And some of these are far more, I would say, serious than others, but it really gives kids an opportunity to find the things that they love, learn some new things that they didn't know they love, and then chase some of those interests. In terms of, obviously we have an incredibly robust arts program, both visual and performing arts, as well as our athletics program is exceptional.
Yeah, and something like close to 80% of our students do at least one sport during their time in high school. I think it's almost 80%.
Yep, and I would say that at Academy, the number of kids that do more than one is much higher than most of the other schools that I've been a part of. And I think it's a tribute to our coaches embracing the fact that they're not necessarily their kid, but they're our kid, and trying to help them pursue those things that they enjoy most.
Yeah. So what are some of the most popular clubs? I know Service Board is out there. The Model UN are they just about to go away to DC?
Yeah, they're leaving in a couple of weeks here to go. It might even be this coming.
I think it's this coming week.
Yeah, they
Friday.
leave for Model UN. The most popular clubs. Well, we have I don't know the numbers specifically.
Mhm.
We are in the process of completing a chess tournament. that
Oh, that's right.
involved about 50 kids. Everything ranging from kids who play at a very, very high level to others that are newer to the sport.
That's a student council tournament.
Yep. Yep.
That they started and kind of just intramurals and such.
Yep.
Today they were announcing dodgeball.
I don't know, what would you guys say are the most popular clubs? We would,
Service board is up there.
for sure.
Service board's
Has
important, for
has
sure.
the biggest, most kids in it, I would think, so.
Yeah.
Then there are
Some
also
of the,
ones that connected to diversity and community life, I think some
Oh,
of
the
those,
affinity
like,
groups,
the
sure.
affinity groups, I think those have some pretty good. Then there are like random ones too, that kids just make up, like,
cooking and baking.
yeah, that one,
There's
there's a
a
Disney
process.
club,
Yeah.
like, I mean.
And some of these clubs, they're a little cyclical depending on, who the leaders are
Yes.
and how excited they are.
The sticker club, I believe, was supposed to be very popular at the
Was
beginning of the year.
massive.
It was massive at the beginning of the year. I don't know exactly
Sticker
what has
club.
happened with the sticker club.
I don't know that
It exists anymore.
I don't know, well, I think it may exist on paper. I don't know that they're meeting.
It was
right
very popular though.
now. It was.
But it's really fun. I mean, the fair at the beginning of the year, the club fair. I mean, it's just so high energy and the kids can bounce from table to table, learn about each of these clubs and kind of sign up for different things. And it's a really, really cool event. I mean, I always sneak away to come and just walk around and.
Yeah, and then a lot of the clubs, there are a couple of opportunities for them to, they're very few, but there are two opportunities for them to raise funds for the club. And one of them actually happens on what we call our Charlie David dinner. And they will set up basically a carnival atmosphere for our other members of our community, or younger
Yeah.
members of our community to come and play carnival-like games and sort of give the parents a little bit of space to grab some food and just enjoy the community that day. So,
And then student council also does their mini grants. Student council has a little stipend granting.
Yep.
Function, so.
we just had our second student dance of the year. We had our WinFo this past weekend. We had I think we had 252 students there, so.
That's out of 418.
Yep, so it was a good turnout. And
That's great.
They did a nice job of setting up and.
Anika, we have just a couple of minutes left here. Are there any questions for our panelists?
No questions yet.
Okay, I should have mentioned viewers out in Zoom land that Anika Littell is curating the session this afternoon. And if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat for us. So Matt, talk a little bit about the affinity groups, if you would. You can help me name them. Boss, there's the Mecca.
There's Mecca, there's DECA, there's the. And if you ask me to pull all the names.
Oh, forget it.
I won't be
It's
able
okay.
to,
So
but it ranges everything. It is broad, right?
there's the Jewish affinity group.
We have a question. Somebody would like to know if you could talk about the Global Online Academy. How many students tend to take advantage of this and what kinds of courses do they tend to take?
Sure. I'm not sure how much everyone else knows about it. We are members of Global Online Academy, which is a consortium of probably 35 to 40 schools worldwide. Actually started by Lakeside School, if I'm remembering correctly, out in Seattle. And some of the top schools in the country are members. The offerings, it's actually a synchronous class. These are synchronous classes, meaning they meet online, but it is, everyone's meeting at the same time during these class meetings. There are, let's see, a couple of the courses I can come up with. There's one on global health issues. There's beginning Arabic. I think there's Japanese. So there's a wide range of offerings, and they're from schools like Columbus Academy. And most of these classes wouldn't be able to run at a high school because there'd only be one or two students. And so we go ahead and we say the more the merrier, and lots of schools get involved. And so the classes will be very similar to academy size classes in the 12 to 15 range. And these classes are going to be filled with very bright students like you would expect here at Columbus Academy. And taught by teachers from, again, these same schools, these same private or independent high schools. So it's there's actually an online, or there's an application process here when students are scheduling their courses for next year. They have access to what is being offered the following year. They check that out and make some choices here at the school, and then they sign up. And it's not necessarily AP related, advanced placement test related at all. It's a pretty successful program. I think my guess is something in the neighborhood of between 20 and 25 students a year take advantage of this situation. Hopefully that'll help our questioner. Any other questions, Anika?
Not right now.
Okay. Matt, I did not introduce you officially. Do you want to mention who you are? Obviously, Matt Thompson,
Sure.
Dean of Students, has 2 children here at the school.
I do. I have a 7th grader and a sophomore. This is my 2nd year exclusively, I'll call it exclusively, in the upper school. Prior to that, I worked in athletics. I was one of the assistant athletic directors and taught PE. So I spent the majority of my time with our middle school kids. I was the head girls soccer coach for 5 years. I stepped down last year because my son is playing, and I didn't want to miss his stuff. So that's me in a nutshell.
And Jen, you have Max.
I do. So I have an 8th grader here as well too. And this is my 12th year. I started off, I was in the alumni office first, and now I'm more in the upper school doing the internships and working with college counseling.
And Amy, what's your tenure?
So this is my 19th year. Next year
Is that
will be
right?
20. Yeah,
Nice.
I can't even believe it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for joining us for today's Zoom at noon. 2 weeks from today, we're actually going to talk about math here at Columbus Academy. So we hope you can join us on the 27th of February for math at Columbus Academy. Thanks very much.